All right, and we are live for another live streaming episode of Alternative Money Monday. Hello, everybody. Great to be back. Great to see all these awesome people here on the show. Of course, I'm JR, co-founder of Ledgerama, the makers of Walla Wallet, the original, the safest, and the trusted mobile wallet of the Hedera ecosystem. I'm pleased today to be joined by my partner and our CTO lead developer of Walla Wallet, Rob Keynes. As per usual, Tim Mungai, our community manager, is here. He's experiencing some storms and some power outages, so he's going low pro with no camera, and we're hoping that Tim doesn't lose connection here, but he's experiencing some technical difficulties. He's in some serious weather, experiencing some turbulence in his airplane there. So happy to have Tim as per usual. My favorite influencer in the Web3 ecosystem, Brandon the HBAR Bull. Hey Brandon, great to have you.
Good to be here.
All right, and our esteemed and distinguished guest today. So we have Jack Timothy from Kabila, the NFT Toolkit, and we're also very pleased to be joined by Patrick from our beloved Earthlings, the Web3 gaming world that all the folks in the Hedera ecosystem are at least aware of, if not well acquainted with. So thanks for joining us, everybody. Great to have you. Great to see all these faces. Of course, for the folks out in YouTube land, if you're out there and you like the show, give us a like, give us a thumbs up, leave a comment, and we appreciate it. Those comments are, how we kind of stay in touch with the folks out there in YouTube land. Drop those comments. We love seeing them. Constructive criticism, positive comments, all those things are great. So we certainly appreciate it.
Did I miss the No Code King down there?
No Code King. Oh, Milan, the No Code King. He's such a common. Milan.
I'm just part of the surroundings, right? I'm just
you are. Yeah. I'm sorry, Milan.
That's all right.
You came in a little bit late. Threw me off my game a little bit. No, but yeah, and happy to have Milan, the No Code King, the Hedera dev of No Code, and pretty much involved in if it's Hedera oriented, Milan's involved in it. So great to see you, Milan. Thanks for joining us.
Happy to be here. Thank you for having us.
All right. So we're going to just go ahead and dive right in. I always like to, talk about some of the latest and greatest stuff that's going on in the Hedera ecosystem. And real happy to have Kabila on here today. We're going to start off with you, Jack. We're going to talk a little bit about Kabila. Could you just tell us a little bit about the backstory of Kabila? How the thing got started. There's tons of interesting features within Kabila. It was really awesome jumping in and kind of discovering some of the things that you can do with Kabila. How did the team get started?
Thanks, Jeremy. Thanks for having us, first of all. It's also great to be here together with Earthlings. We recently connected with these guys, and yeah, just great to be here and to share this live stage. So Kabila, it has these different intonations, different people like to call it. It's kind of a it's based in Spain, so it's Kabila because of the accent. Okay. But it does get named in different ways, which is fine because we do.
The accent is over
exist.
the A then. So the accent is over the A, Kabila.
Yeah.
Okay, not the I. Got it. Thanks for the
clarification.
Hablo un poco de español. No mucho, pero un poco.
Ah, sí, podemos hacerlo en español si quieres. La entrevista.
Yeah, sí.
No, I'm joking. I'm actually English, but I was raised in Spain, so hence why I connected with the team at Kabila, because they're based in Spain. The whole team until I arrived a couple of months ago was fully Spanish. So a little bit of the backstory to answer your question. We exist for creators, but we're actually creators at heart as well. It started off with Manu, the CEO, who's a creator himself and also an entrepreneur. And he started, creating his own NFTs. And like many creators, we come up with obstacles when it comes to infrastructure and tooling and this and the other. So he decided that, why not create some of these tools to help himself, but also to help the community on Hedera. And I think that's initially how it started. From what I understand, is one creator looking to improve the ecosystem and solve things, for himself and for other creators. And then it just escalated from there, growing the team and building the wallet, and then adding on the tools slowly but surely over the last months, up until this day. And it hasn't even been a year yet. It's been around about a year, coming up to a year.
Wow. Yeah. So, I mean, there's a lot. I mean, that's there's a lot packed into what's really, I mean, on the surface level appears to be quite a simple tool, but it's doing a heck of a lot. So the team's come up with, we've done a lot of amazing work here in just a very short period of time. So I know I know Rob, our CTO, would love to talk to you guys about how you accomplish some of the things that you accomplish, and we'll get into some of those things a little bit as the show progresses. So there's some really interesting NFT features. Do you know if Manu had experience before diving into Hedera, or really any of the Kabila members? Was there NFT experience beforehand, or did you just or did the team just really dive into NFTs head first in the Hedera ecosystem?
From my understanding, Hedera was Manu's kind of first experience. He might have dabbled a little bit on other chains, but as soon as he came across Hedera, he knew it was the one, and he just went head first and started, as we all do, experimenting, getting entangled with the community, soaking it all up, and then launching his own NFTs, and then fast forward onto Kabila. But for the rest of the team, I don't think their background is NFTs. I think that they come from other areas of dev work and coding and whatnot. So yeah, I think it just came from that place of passion, curiosity, and exploration.
Right. That's a fascinating thing about Web3, and we were talking about this last week. How folks in the Web3 distributed systems, we kind of jump in and we bring the skills that we had from our previous lives. We get fascinated. We jump down this rabbit hole. And then we wind up, we would eventually, or at some point, usually pretty early on, we discover how early it is in the ecosystem, just in Web3 in general. And we say, wow, there's a lot of stuff that needs to be built still. So I'm really passionate about this. Let me take the skills that I have, whatever that might be, whether it's social engineering or whether it's, business development or software engineering, all those things. And we say, hey, let's pour our efforts into this. Hey, Milan, what you got?
Yeah, so maybe it's just fun to a little fun thing to share is that I was very close with Manu when he was, or I would say close, when he was creating those NFTs. I was minting them for Manu through GoMint, right? So that was what I was doing for GoMint. So it's very, I always mention this, through Twitter Spaces is when Manu comes up. It's very great to see him coming from the first NFT malls, how he called them the NFTs, to see him evolve like with Kabila and Kabila. So that's just a small fun fact.
Yeah, Milan, it's so funny. Again, going back to you just being kind of like in the, just being like a tapestry in the background or part of the fixture of the ecosystem. I forget that you go back to all the way to the GoMint days. Alex Taylor, GoMint. I mean, that, yeah. So those are, I mean, back when NFTs were actually, they were fun before NFTs even existed in the Hedera token service, and they were just being minted as one of one. They were actually fungible tokens that were being minted as one of one and being passed off as NFTs. So
serialized. I mean, it was pretty epic. I mean, I always refer back to it because we're actually serialized fungible tokens. So basically leveraging Hedera consensus servers to make those fungible tokens NFTs. I mean, I thought that was always very epic, but obviously, there came a whole new standard in play, and then that old game was over. That's
right. I remember seeing some of the emoji NFTs out there. Those were pretty funny. So I'm going to kind of jump. Yeah, go ahead.
No, just to your point, you were talking about how early it is, and you're absolutely right. I mean, a lot of us jumped in like Milan, 5 years ago, have been in this space for a really long time. But one thing that I've seen is it seems like we're going through that hockey stick moment as far as things being built on the network. Over the past year and 18 months, how rich this ecosystem has become with builders across the board is just incredible. I mean, I'm really pretty shocked by it. What we had built 18 months ago compared to where we are now is just night and day. It's really shocking.
Right. And when you look at the life cycle, I've been really fascinated by one of our advisors shared with me that, the life cycle of technologies. And we started talking about that and kind of exploring that in terms of, where are we at in the life cycle and all these things. And when you look at the life cycle of a technology, there's this big trough right at the beginning that's essentially the research and development phase. It's this kind of, it's a down phase in terms of earnings. Right. Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. It's a down phase in terms of earnings, but it's where a lot of the magic is happening. And when you look at it, in typical life cycles of technology, it looks like we're really coming to that inflection point where we move from that kind of R&D and development and testing phase into the kind of wider adoption and profitability phase. Now, I don't necessarily want to make that as a prediction in case I'm incredibly wrong. It's always good to kind of temper those statements a little bit, but it appears from all, it appears to me like we're really kind of coming into that turning point.
Well, I think there's two of them, right? There's one where, and I think we had a pretty wide chasm there where there wasn't a lot happening, but that was all in the development and builder side of things, and the next one is when all these tools are built and all these platforms are built and all these games are built and everything else. It's then once people actually start using them, that's when things are going to get really exciting. So I think you're right. We're crossing that chasm as far as builders and applications and the ecosystem. But the next phase is when people start to really use this. I don't know which one of these things, if it's going to be Earthlings, if it's going to be Twigital, if it's going to be, some of our DeFi applications, which one's really going to be that killer app that really engages the broader everybody out there, right? It's going to engage, like, it's going to be that killer app that everybody likes to use. Is it going to be Karate Combat? We really don't know yet, but everything's being built for that success to take place.
Right, and as Milan said, we're in the meme coin phase right now, where we're gearing up towards utility, but you've got to have a cute dog face attached to your project. Or
nothing wrong with Grelf. Come on now. I love to see it.
All right, so we're going to jump around a little bit. Patrick, so could you tell us a little bit about the backstory of Earthlings? So it looks like yourself and your brother Marcel are both designers by trade. But can you tell us a little bit about the background and and how you stumbled into this space?
It's actually funny what you just said. Can you hear me well, by the way? Because I plugged into the headset. Okay, great.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, because you said something just a few minutes ago about you're looking at what you are good at, and then you're using that to onboard this industry. Well, it's actually what happened to us. So that changed my story now a bit, the intro, because that's what we saw. We saw that there were some good designed games or metaverses, but did not have any gameplay or had a weird economic model, and a lot of metaverses and gameplays who did not have design at all. So that's where we, as designers, saw an opening for us, that we were saying, hey, this is something that we can do something with, because we are still actually crypto enthusiasts. And we were interested in crypto a lot. And we did also see, because we follow the news as well, of course, that everything, according to my opinion at least, is going to go on the blockchain. So I showed Marcel a concept that I have been writing out. He liked it a lot, and we decided to indeed bring this thing to life. And this was around April, end of April last year. And we were already known. We did know a lot about these NFTs, and usually the only thing that I knew was it's all monkeys and apes. It looks like all the NFTs are monkeys and apes. We didn't get that, so we're going to do a show about that, by the way, soon enough. But we never got that. Why do I want to have a picture of a monkey in my wallet on my phone? So I never bought one. And then all these hilarious, weird projects. I even heard of a project who made an NFT out of a stone or whatever, a stone image, and it sold for a lot, and then the whole thing just disappeared. I don't know exactly the whole story.
Ethrox, yeah.
I even had to learn about the word OG. So I'm not an OG, as you can see. So I was just a regular guy, but we did know how to set up a business, and we also did know how to make something look good. So that's where we saw an opportunity for us. And then we asked Jorgo, a programmer, to ask if he was interested in joining as well, because with the three of us, we had more funding, of course, because you do need funding to start with. And he said, I think that everything on blockchain is the future. So he saw an opportunity in there straight away. Marcel was sometimes also working for Jorgo, for his company. They both have companies. So he knew about his skills, because we didn't want to start this without a programmer. And then we asked Jorgo about, so I set up a list of blockchains that I'm just going to say the general term blockchain. Okay, here I know.
Of course, yeah.
It's
No.
distributed ledger technology, but blockchain is so much easier. Come on, guys.
Yeah.
So,
we got it.
so I made a list of chains, and they needed to tick all boxes. And so low fees, not a typical hype chain, needed to be safe. And I'm ashamed to admit it, but the last one was Hedera, because Jorgo, he couldn't find any one of these. And I already had HBAR in my wallet. So I said, okay, but Jorgo, why not Hedera? And then it was actually Jorgo who said, after 2 hours looking into it, yeah, I want to build this with this one. He was so enthusiastic about it because he never did anything with blockchain programming, of course. So him saying after 2 hours already that this is the place that he wants to build on, and Milan can testify for that. He did great. So maybe it says something about Hedera, the ease of building on Hedera. Maybe it says something about Jorgo, but let's stick in the middle. It says something about both of them. So then we decided to go for Hedera, and yeah, it was a great choice.
Go ahead, Brandon, what you got?
Yeah, no, I was just curious. So when you said you wrote out the concept, is that like the storyline of the game? Was that the entire concept, like your white paper, including the NFTs and all that kind of stuff? Or was it like, did you have like design and all that kind of stuff integrated with it? So what was that concept?
It was actually the early concept of the white paper, indeed. So I didn't write anything about NFTs, but just the gaming metaverse. And I started actually with, hey, we should do a metaverse with game play involved, but that changed quickly into gaming and metaverse, because we quickly saw that there's so much more gamers. Well, gaming is just a big thing of everywhere. Half of the population is gaming. I'm going to get back to that later. But
So
yes, yeah.
So you started off thinking, this is going to be a metaverse with some gameplay, and you changed that around to this is going to be a gaming metaverse, gaming first?
Yeah, because we saw the importance of that. It's actually, I'm going to start about that anyway then now, because I mentioned it with you in one of your Twitter spaces of the HBAR Foundation, because I think it's the gamers that will really bring metaverse to where it should be, because they already did it. Because if you go to, what is a metaverse? It's a meet and greet. People come together, they can do stuff, and that's what gaming is already doing with and without virtual reality. They actually started the whole metaverse stuff, but we never gave them, we never gave them credit for that. So I only realized this a few weeks ago, but still it's true, I think. But now, with the metaverse, that you can add a metaverse to it, so you can even incorporate real, you can start a shop, for instance, that you can connect to the real world. But also, for instance, if I would want to do something with Kabila and say, hey, why don't we build a factory in our game, and you connect your app, there's so much more that you can now do, especially with the metaverse attached as well. So you now have a gaming metaverse, and a metaverse gives you even more options to do. I can go on forever, so I see that Milan has his hands up.
Yeah, just a small point to make, which, one of the first questions I asked to the team when I first joined. I mean, I joined the first day when they opened the Discord. Why did you choose Hedera? And so Patrick gave me exactly what he just said. He told me exactly what he just said. And then, there's this super important thing, that is to highlight is that we're talking about a non-blockchain developer who understands directly the programming language of Hedera instead of having to learn a whole new language. So to come from a non-blockchain environment and to get into a blockchain environment, it's perfect. Hedera is excellent for that.
Yeah, it's one of the things that early on, not being a serious developer myself, it was one of those that when I looked around and I saw the high caliber level of developers that were interested and passionate about the Hedera ecosystem, I generally like to surround myself with people that I consider to be smarter than myself. And when I looked around and saw, these bright guys like Rob and others, I mean, going way back to Hedera 18 and even before that, when I saw these bright, talented minds, passionate and interested in Hedera, I said, okay, well, maybe there's some, maybe what I see in there, maybe there's more to it than what I'm seeing. Maybe this is something that could last. Yeah, Jack, go ahead. You've got your hands up. We're going to be jumping all over the place today. You just jump right in there whenever you feel so inclined.
Yeah, I really just wanted to echo what Milan was saying regarding building on Hedera, because I believe a big part, if not all of the team at Kabila come from a non-blockchain background. So building on Hedera, choosing Hedera as a blockchain to build on was a no-brainer. But if you look at other blockchains where you have to learn, how to code smart contracts and whatnot, whereas on Hedera you can build directly on the HTS service with Java. So that's one of the reasons why Kabila has been able to build so much in such a short period. And I think for builders in general, it's just a massive advantage of building on Hedera.
Right. Yeah, go ahead, Patrick.
Yeah, going on what was just said as well, because I think if you indeed, I'm not a programmer, but I do hear what Jorgo is saying, and I do follow the conversations that I understand for 50% between Milan and Jorgo. And Milan is a nice bridge between Hedera and Jorgo as a programmer. So I do hear what they're saying, and I do see that. I think if you want to build an application, and you need to, and let's look back to what my findings were before finally deciding for Hedera. If you need to build an application and you stumble against a wall where even projects who are building already there, telling you, I had one YouTuber that I spoke to him in this initial phase, and he was highlighting a certain chain, and he even told me, I would not be building my project on this chain were it not that I have an insider on this chain. I don't want to call out names. So he admitted that it's so hard to build there. You really need a professional programmer who is attached to the project. I'm like, how can this be such a hard chain? Another chain here, they had all the apps and tools available. So it was plug and play. But how much freedom did we have to build something ourselves? And also the safety came into, the safety was a big issue there. So I don't know if that had to do with all these things. But I even went on a Twitter space a couple of weeks ago. And they were saying, again, they were building on same chain. And they were admitting that even then they were struggling to build. And they were very nice and open and saying, yeah, okay, if anyone has any problems, come to me. I know now a bit how it's done, but comparing it to Hedera, there was a word just used, no-brainer. And that's what we found out. Took us about a week to find out it's a no-brainer. So right. I'm no programmer, but I do hear what's being discussed, of course.
Right. Yeah, certainly challenges all over the place. I mean, Web3, as we all know, I mean, we're very early in the space, so there's tons of tooling. There's so much work to be done and so many things to be built. But so far, I think there are certainly challenges within each chain, within each platform. But certainly, and Rob could testify to plenty of those issues, that we run into within our own native Hedera ecosystem as well. But by and large, like I said, the smart folks that I talk to are still building in and on and around Hedera. So we're happy to be here. Jack, I wanted to ask you a little bit about, I wanted to dive in a little bit more about Kabila. So one of the first things that I think anybody that's interested in Kabila wants to learn about is probably going to be the member pass. Can you talk a little bit about the member pass, what the member pass does for folks? And, just tell me, if we could kind of dive into that. What is the member pass and what does it do for the users? So
I'm assuming you're referring to the creator pass, right? Is that
okay? I thought it was called a member. I thought it was the member pass, but yeah, creator pass. Essentially, this is what is my
the one that gives you access to Kabilabs.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So the creator pass, which we're actually in, like as we speak, it's being shifted into more of a public, more accessible Kabilabs, which is the NFT tooling part of Kabila, because we want people to be able to explore a little bit and test out the tools before they have to go and purchase the creator pass. Because up until now, you've had to purchase the creator pass, which costs $69, and it gives you 6 months access to Kabilabs, to all of the NFT tools available. So you could think of it as like a subscription NFT.
Sure.
You're paying the $69 and you're getting this, nice NFT for your wallet, and then holding that soulbound NFT gives you access to the platform.
Okay.
Does it allow you to experiment on the testnet?
No, I think it's just the mainnet.
Okay.
Yeah, I think there might be something else for people to experiment on the testnet. Yeah.
Right. I remember watching one of the videos on Kabilabs and seeing the testnet access. But yeah, I'm not sure if that was. But it sounds like yeah, it sounds like things are in flux, which is totally normal for projects. As we kind of as we experiment and find out what users need and what users want. There's a lot of experimentation, and that's one of the things that I love about about some of the stuff that I've seen Patrick say is that we're going to set up this, we're going to do it this, we're going to start off in this direction, but by the way, guys, this might change, right? So we're doing this thing, but don't get too hooked or too set on on one path, one set of tokenomics or one style of gameplay, or you're very open about the fact that this is a work in progress, and that that the roadmap may at some time change. There was a question came in from Brandon. Let's talk a little bit about the idea of a soulbound token. You mentioned a soulbound token, and that's something that a term that I've really kind of heard in passing. I dug into it a little bit, and it was one of those that I went, wow, okay, this is the nuts and bolts, the kind of ins and outs of a soulbound token were a little bit more detailed than, I have to be choosy with my time, and I have to be careful about what rabbit holes I jump down. But if you would just talk a little bit about a soulbound token and what that means.
Yeah, so essentially it just means that it's an NFT, that once you purchase it, it stays in that wallet. It can't be sold or traded or transferred to another wallet. Because essentially the creator pass is a utility token. It's a subscription, or you're paying for the access to Kabilabs, the NFT tools. So that's its pure purpose. And yeah.
That can be coded in on the Hedera layer. So this is a token that once sent out, it can't be transferred.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So what is?
Yeah, I think because people are used to the idea that you can trade NFTs, right? But for certain tokens, it or doesn't make sense, or it's not necessary. So I guess it can be programmed in. Yeah. Interesting.
So Rob, are you familiar with the keys that that allow that within the NFT metadata?
I mean, there's a whole set of keys, but yeah, there's definitely a way to do that. I remember coming across that when I was designing our own NFT tool that we created, for restoring our testnet access and all that. But
right,
I'm no dev, by the way, so I'm just pulling from the knowledge that I learned from the team.
So what NFT types are you guys supporting? Like right now, I saw the demo where you can have multiple layers of PNG files and then layer them on top of each other, and for like the pants or the shirt and all that, and then you can randomize it, and you can set the rarity of each attribute and everything, and then it'll generate the collection for you. What are there other kinds of NFTs that you're handling at the moment, like music or I mean, there's so many things you could do with NFTs, right? You can do a commemorative event tickets. You could do you could use NFTs to token gate to resources. Are you doing any of those other kinds of things, or is it just the artwork right now?
No, so essentially what you described first is the art engine tool, where you upload the layers of media and the metadata, so the details and information that you want tied to that, and then it generates the art, uploads everything to IPFS, and gives you the final, let's say you generated 50 or 100 pieces, which then you can go on to create a collection, mint, and sell, let's say through the Launchpad. But to your second question, we support all kinds of NFTs, because what you describe as a music NFT or whatever utility you'd like to plug in, let's say to an NFT, it's kind of, I don't want to say it's external, but it's kind of relative, if that makes sense. So when you create a collection, you create the token ID, you create the NFTs and mint them to that collection. The collection being kind of like the box, the token ID that you create to put these NFTs inside. And then the NFTs, that the attributes or the utility that you give them those NFTs is then kind of up to you. So it could be one of one art, it could be music NFTs, because we also you can also do animated MP4 NFTs as well on the platform.
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to see more music NFTs and, you know, performances and that kind of thing. But I mean, I know those files can also get pretty big too. And like, since you're using IPFS, I mean, Hedera is a 100-year company, but I don't know about Kabila, like what your plans are. 200-year company, or are you planning to be, you know, how are you going to pay for the storage and pinning costs for an ever growing amount of, you know, I mean, I know with the rates that you're charging now, you can handle it, you know, for sometimes some scale, but if it becomes the norm to use a lot larger file sizes, do you have a cap on file sizes for users to use? Because if you're using IPF pinning services, you're paying at least or somewhere around the neighborhood of 7 to 15 cents probably per gigabyte per month, I'm guessing, for that storage, right?
So we actually have when someone creates a collection and uploads their, so let's say they mint their NFTs and they upload their metadata to IPFS, we actually have a link inside Kabila which sends you to an external provider called NFT storage, which is, you know, an IPFS provider. So that the individual would set up their API key and then they would copy that into Kabila. So it's kind of like an external that's brought in, and so it's not something that Kabila per se is hosting. That makes sense.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. I was just curious about that. And I don't know, it's my own personal view that there needs to be a better way to do this, you know, to make it easier for people to upload data that's going to be permanent, or at least make it easy for them to pay for it from a Hedera account directly, right? If they want to keep the NFT live for a couple hundred years, make sure there's enough money in there, and then somehow, you know, pay in a decentralized manner other services to handle that. But I don't think anything like that really exists well yet. I know Arweave is supposed to be a permanent, you know, blockchain storage solution for large files. And yeah,
I do know that the team is constantly looking into new things, whether it be the IPFS or any other aspect of the toolkit. So they're always looking to refine and improve. So I think the one that you just mentioned, they're aware of it. So yeah, I'm sure they'll implement anything to improve that.
Yeah, I'm just really curious. I'm really curious the way the space goes. I mean, you know, Jeremy and I, we're not sure that we're going to go the NFT, you know, route anyway, providing tools for NFT creators and things like that. But I do kind of, you know, a lot of people have told us, why is nobody doing event ticketing on NFTs yet? You know, creating, and that's something that I would actually be interested in doing. And that something that would interest me as a musician and a guitar player and all that. But so the other question I had too is like, so as far as like the rent for the tokens and all that, I mean, I read the documentation for the smart contracts, but I know there's going to be rent for NFTs and tokens as well, just for maintaining the storage and things like that on the network. Is that something that affects your business plan at all, or is once again, is that's an account that's probably controlled by the user themselves, right? So they're responsible for paying those fees. Okay.
Yeah.
So Rob mentioned some of the different media type files that you're able to use within the NFTs. So we're going to take a quick look with inside Walla Wallet. So after these messages, we'll be right back. I'm going to jump into, let's see here.
Hey, Rob.
Yeah.
So someone just said you sound like you build quantum computers in your spare time.
All right. So yeah, Rob is an incredible talent in the space, and we are incredibly grateful to have him. No doubt. All right, so here we are in the lovely Walla Wallet UI, and you can see here that we're currently looking at the tokens. These are the fungible tokens that we have within Walla Wallet. A few of them you can see our super Metadog, the MDOG token there at the top, and of course USDC and Dovu. But if we switch over to the NFTs tab here, we can take now this particular wallet only has the one NFT in it. But this is, of course, our MDOG token. This is one of those tokens that we gave out to early adopters. It grants VIP access that really has yet to be established as to what the VIP status does for users, but it's something that essentially we were kind of playing around when we were building NFT support within Walla Wallet. We decided, hey, well, let's take a look at what we can do with these NFTs. So we're going to take a look at this MDOG token here, and we're going to take a look at some of the attributes of this MDOG token here. So we can check out. So there's all kinds. You can download the file, you can share the file, you can browse the file, so you can see things like the URL. You've got properties, categories, all the different traits that, the NFT creators. Now, we haven't really formed a way of tracking rarity. To my understanding, rarity was a little bit more complicated, but there's all kinds of cool things that you can do with these NFTs. Now, properties, and when you look at things like the boosts, we have these labeled as bark power for the M-Dog, stamina, loyalty, right? So you can imagine all different, you can imagine a whole lot of utility and things that you could do with gaming use cases when you start looking at things like properties and the boosts. You've got stats, and then of course, as you scroll down, you can see more kind of granular detail about the NFT. You can see the description and all these kinds of things. But one of the things that I really love the most is when you get into the file nesting, right? And so we can see here, there's videos associated with the NFT, there's photos, documentation like PDFs. So you can imagine for like something like a ticketing use case, the power that is embedded within this evolution of NFTs is really incredible. So as an example, if we go over to the Super Metadog videos, you can see that there's a whole host of videos that are associated with the NFT. Now imagine going to a concert and getting access to exclusive content.
That performance after the fact, and have it token gated, right? So that you can have access to it.
You can.
So you can, so you've got full, you've got complete media files here. So really exciting aspect of NFTs. And I really look forward to seeing how this evolves going, moving into the future. I just wanted to take a brief minute to show that off. We're going to go ahead and stop the broadcast, and there we go. All right. So thanks for joining me while we explored some multimedia stuff within the evolution of NFTs on Walla Walla.
So we support the 3D models too, which hopefully Brandon's company will start.
Absolutely, yeah. The USDZ files, is that correct?
Yep. There's a few file types, but that's the main one that we're creating. Yeah, USDZ.
And those are, I believe those are the iOS flavor of the file. Yeah, go ahead, Patrick. Yep. What you got?
So NFT events tickets, that's what you called them?
I don't know what, I don't know if there's an actual name for them, but ticket, event ticketing NFTs. I'd like to create like a memorial one, right? So like even if if your kid is performing in a school play, right? And the school itself could sell an NFT of the performance. And that way imagine everybody who comes to the performance would just get the NFT, and they would buy the NFT, they would come in there, they would use that as a ticket. But the cool thing about it is you can associate all the video of the performance and the photos, whatever they're legally allowed to take, I guess, with the NFT after the fact, so that you could keep that as a memory that's there literally forever. So 50 years from now, you want to look back at what happened, you could still see it, and still have access to it. I thought that would be pretty cool.
You should definitely talk to Marcel, my brother.
Yeah.
He works with a lot of event organizations. That's what you call them. And you should talk to him. Let him design a product for that, because he's got a lot of clients and he knows a lot of people there. That would be so cool.
Yep.
That's interesting, Patrick, because you just made me. I'm not sure. I don't know why I never thought about this before, but my kind of side job, I'm an events manager. So it's kind of like, wait, why did I never think of this? So that's one of those that
it was my idea. Now you thought of it first. It was my idea.
We'll give you absolute credit. I owe Rob's wife $30 million for the name Ledgerama. So Patrick, we're happy to include you in. $30 million for the idea. Why not? We'll I'll make an IOU and create an NFT out of it. Milan, what have you got?
So Rob, you mentioned token gating, right? I think that's one of the next steps. Obviously, we already have token gating within the website. Like that's already happening, but token gating, within the wallet, right? I mean, that's something that
I'm thinking for decentralized access. Access to data in a decentralized manner that's gated at the endpoint, right? Like for now, if we wanted to do it properly, you could create like an Nginx or an Apache plugin for the Web 2 world, so that anybody who's hosting content that they want to perform well, because IPFS doesn't really perform so well in large files all the time. If you wanted to host that content in a centralized manner, but gate it based on token access, you know, so that you could sell those tokens as subscriptions to that content, for example. I don't know that there's a really good open source infrastructure code in place to be able to do that and set that up as a business right now. And I think there should be, right? You could turn Walla Wallet into like a podcast player that could support videos and all kinds of audio, and it could be a new way to consume content. We could create an Apple TV version or whatever, and it could be tied to your account, and then the content itself could be gated so that right now anybody who creates an NFT, I can go on Hashcan and I can drill down there and I can find the links and I can get to the same content. I can grab and download your image that you spent a week, creating, and you're charging $1,000 for the NFT, and you're thinking that only the NFT person has access to that image. That's not true. I can go on the Hashcan and find it and download it, but there might be business cases where you don't want that, where you only want to provide restricted access to that content, right?
Exactly. And that's something, I think people often mistakenly see that my NFT, it's mine, only I can see it. No, all the assets are publicly available, right? There's not yet in wallet token gating or whatsoever. There's no standard or whatsoever that is being developed for that. It's really the fact of the NFT being a digital representation of ownership. That's kind of the power of it right now, but it's not yet token gated within. I will be very excited about this.
Yeah, I love the conversation, but we do have a lot of stuff that I wanted to get to. No, it's okay. Jam-packed episode. I love these. I mean, this is awesome. And by the way, Patrick and Jack, it is my sincere hope that you will come back in the future. We'll do part 2, part 3 of these. I want to basically, the whole point of these, the alternative money live streams, is to shed light on great things being built within the Hedera ecosystem. So hopefully you'll come back and share more. But I did want to talk a little bit more about Kabilabs, and Jack, could you tell us a little bit about some of the features within Kabilabs? I had one question come in specifically about bulk sending. Can you just talk a little bit about the labs and what the kind of what power the labs give to NFT creators?
Absolutely. First of all, a pleasure for number 2, number 3. I've been on Spaces with Patrick the last 2 weeks. So it's quite interesting how we've come together on this live, serendipity. So Kabilabs has a series of tools. We mentioned the art engine before. You mentioned the bulk sender, which pairs really well with the dynamic lists, which essentially draws on-chain data from different wallets and tells you, okay, this list of wallets holds this token that's delisted. You can set certain parameters to get a dynamic list in real time, which you can then feed into the bulk sender and send, whether it's a fungible token or an NFT, to hundreds of wallets within one transaction. So that's probably the most used.
No more sad NFT creators sitting there having to manually send NFTs to all those people. Yeah. Awesome.
It used to be one by one, right?
Right.
Back in the day. So I'd say that's probably one of the simplest, the bulk sender, but the most used, just because it makes your life that much easier. The Launchpad, which it was the latest edition, which really is, I like to call it the Shopify of NFTs, because you can literally just set up shop within a few clicks. I set one up the other day in a couple of hours. And obviously you've got your collection, your NFTs and everything done prior to that. And then you're just setting up, the banner, the profile picture, the description, and sale price and whatnot, just the parameters of the Launchpad itself. And then you're going live. You have your control panel where you can pause the Launchpad because maybe you need to update some details of the description or so it's fully self-service and fully accessible to the creator, rather than having to go back and forth with the Launchpad to change these small things. You can do that yourself, which I think is really empowering for the creator. Speaking from my experience as someone who's had their own e-commerce in the past, having that platform that really allows you to do your thing when you need to do it, I think is really important for creators.
It allows you to create fungible tokens as well. Is that correct?
Correct.
Awesome.
It's probably not used as much as the NFT creation tool, sure. But it's totally possible to create your fungible token and also use the bulk sender if you needed to do airdrops or fungible tokens as well.
I love it. Yeah. So I remember seeing Andreas Antonopoulos talking about kids in the future will be making school projects, you know, about Joey coin and Susie coin, and tools like Kabila. I mean, that, you know, making it easy for people to create their own tokens. I mean, that's, you know, tons of like really fun use cases. So speaking of fungible tokens, Patrick, could you tell us a little bit about how tokens are used? Like, what purpose do tokens serve within the Earthlings world? For folks that aren't familiar with Earthlings, you know, what role do the NFTs play within the game? And then also, if I understand correctly, there's a fungible token associated with the game as well. Could you tell us a little bit about the mechanics of that, how that interacts with the game?
I think you can compare it to any other game where you have in-game tokens, especially a lot of mobile games that I actually even played. Well, it's been a long time, I must say, but you get these. The last game I played with a token was with a farm, and you could harvest, and then you get these tokens again. Well, of course, now that wasn't built on a blockchain, but also there you could just buy these tokens or go to a game marketplace where you could sell your products and earn more tokens and all that stuff. Actually, I see something like that happening with us as well. You can pay someone with the in-game token to get you a ride somewhere, like a cab system, or you can pay a small fee to take the train to another continent, stuff like that. That's what we're going to incorporate in the gameplay. So it's going to be really, really used. And we'll even have a banking system, Lehman Swap. You know them, of course. They will be handling the banks there. So the name
That's
Lehman.
Awesome.
Yeah,
I love that. I saw that in one of your interviews. You know, you mentioning that you could have your own bank within Earthlings, and I mean, So there's both. My grandfather was the president and co-owner of a bank, and my uncles were bankers. You know, I'm like that fascinated me. I was like, I got to have my own bank within Earthlings. I love that idea.
Yeah, well, it's a bit different than real banking, but. but yeah, well, anyway,
better, I'm sure.
Way better. Yeah, well, soon enough, I think all banks will run on the blockchain, but that's another story. But yeah, so stuff like that. We've got the utility token that you can use in the game. You can use it to buy in-game assets as well, buy an airship or a new NFT. So that's things that we are using. We're trying to make the in-game economy as wide as possible. For instance, also if you find an in-game animal, you can go to a tech shop, you can pay with this Steam token in the game to level it up, or you can just walk around the game trying to find stuff that you can then bring to the tech shop, and then you can incorporate it like that. So there's endless possibilities actually. If you've been gaming some other games with tokens already, then you know what the possibilities are a bit.
So I would love to get into tokenomics. Like I said, I've got a whole host of questions that I could ask, but I think I'll save the tokenomics maybe for another interview. But there was something that you mentioned that you kind of touched on it already a little bit, but I just thought it was a really profound insight. The balance between the gamers and the investors. Right. So as an example, in Earthlings, folks can buy land NFTs, so they can be landowners. But you mentioned that, you know, the gamers and the investors or the owners are not always, and often are not the same people, right? So the people that are interested in the NFTs, that are, you know, want to follow the game as an investor, are not necessarily the gamers. And it sounds like you found some really interesting ways to design a balance for the gamers and the investors. Could you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, well, we found, is what you just said, indeed, people who buy land early on usually want the land to increase, and then they sit back and they hope that the project is going to be a success. And then their land increases in value, and they want to sell it later on. But those people are usually not the ones who are also interested in gaming. A lot of them are, of course, but not the majority. And yeah, in a way, you could see them as investors. But it's the gamers that you need, of course. But what if you have a scheme set up that if you own a plot of land, and we will give you a gamer's plot. We also call it dugout. We can vote on that, by the way, right now. I think dugout sounds cooler. What do you guys think? Dugout, gamer's plot. What do you think? Well, give me feedback.
I like dugout.
Dugout. We'll go for dugout. Thank you.
I'm a big baseball fan, so I like the
Okay.
dugout. Cool.
We go for dugout. We hand them a dugout, and then they can tell their kids or their nephews or Jim Buddy, who is always also a gamer, because everyone games nowadays. When I was about 16 to 20 years old, long time ago, only the nerds and the fat kids were gaming, but now everyone's cool when you're gaming. So everyone's gaming. So you always have friends who like games, but of course you need a cool game. So that's what we really focus on. We need a good designed, cool game. So that's our first priority, and then you can incorporate all these other things. So if you tell them, okay, I've got a dugout for you in this super cool game, you can find it on Steam or wherever. Download it, you can start playing. He doesn't even need to say that it's about NFTs or on Adera and all this stuff.
Right.
It's a cool game. They need to come in for the gaming and not for the play to earn. We like to say play and earn. But and then you as a landowner get some revenues on his gameplay. I think you're better off not saying it even. So let him play. Let him find out later. Let him just play and have fun. And you get a little of his earnings. So in that way, because let's call them investors, an investor wants to see returns. If you give them another option to get returns on his land, then he will be incentivized to bring in these games. He won't sit passively, laid back, waiting for something to happen with his land, but he'll onboard them. And of course, we need to make sure that the gamers don't have too much of an advantage against the ones who bought land early on, because that would not be fair, of course. Then they'll be the ones saying, hey, what's that? I bought the land, and they can do the same as I. So read all about it in the white paper. There it's explained a bit more in detail, and I'm better in writing things down than just throwing out like that. So
no, that was well said. I mean,
thank you.
Yeah, no, I mean, it was one of those. It was a really interesting insight, and I thought, okay, just in seeing it, at a cursory glance, I was like, wow, okay, these guys have really, these guys have done some serious thought, and all this stuff is, clicking and making sense, and got me really excited about it. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, we just thought we needed to find a way to incentivize landowners to do what other games are expecting to happen just by itself. And if you have 1,000, 2,000, 10,000 landowners who all ask their nephews and gym buddies, hey, come on, look at this. Yeah, then you might have something that will really attract a big audience, and then you won't be stuck with an empty gameplay metaverse, because that's what we're seeing now. All these big empty chunks of land, and so that's what we think is going to be a win-win situation.
Absolutely. So there was a couple questions that came in from the audience. There was a question about our Earthlings and Jam NFTs storable on Wallet. And I would say absolutely yes. We handle, Wallet does support NFTs. Now, we have ran into some issues in the past with the way that certain images are being rendered within the metadata. So of course, if you are looking at an NFT, within Wallet, and it doesn't appear, it doesn't appear the way that you might normally expect it, it might have something to do with the way that the JSON was formed. We did our absolute best to adhere to the specs, but if there's something that's not quite, if there's something that's a little bit off, we hope that you would reach out to us. You can certainly reach out to us via Telegram or Discord or email. There's a lot of different ways you can reach out to us, but absolutely, yes, NFTs are storable on Wallet.
So Jeremy, yeah, I mean, one common problem was the using an invalid MIME type, right, for image JPEG. So instead of image/JPEG, which is the correct MIME type, people were using image/JPG. So yeah, we updated the wallet to support the invalid type. Yeah.
Right. Lots of little issues like that we're working through, but hopefully, people would reach out to us if they do run into issues like that. And then another question came in for you, Patrick or Milan. Will Earthlings be able to work on a computer that's not nearly the level of a gaming computer?
Well, let's say it like this: if you can play Fortnite, you should be able to play our game as well. And a lot of people play Fortnite, so. But I must say, it might ask a bit more memory, quite a bit, because I think Fortnite is 10 by 10 kilometers. I might be wrong, but it's not, it's big. But just Europe is 20 by 20 kilometers for our game, and that's just Europe. But I can envision that, for instance, that you could download just a certain map and leave the rest for later. So it's actually, so that does answer the question, but I think Quinten would be able, that's our lead programmer, to answer that in more detail. But yeah, you should be able, because I've been speaking to Quinten about this. If you
I think the answer with being Fortnite is probably the best one, because Quinten has there and the other developers have been talking about what's the best way to optimize that.
Jeremy, do we have Ledgerama headquarters yet in Earthlings land anywhere?
No, not just yet. We need it.
Coming near you soon.
Yeah, Brandon's got an airship, I think, right? That's
Absolutely. Yeah.
what do we got? What do we have?
Well, we're working on it. We're a work in progress, Rob. You know that. All right. So I have all kinds of other questions. Patrick or Jack, I wanted to jump into the art engine and talk about the token manager on Kabila, but it's been such a fun show. We're already coming to the top of the hour. So if it's okay, I'm going to save those for another episode. And I know Brandon had something that he wanted to share. Brandon, did you still want to share that?
Well, sure. Did I sent you the file, or you can let me share my screen? But I know a lot of people saw the Juicyverse, but I made an HBAR or a Hedera symbol out of Juicy Fruit. You can pretty much, I guess you could do pretty much anything because it's a 4-color pixel art, right? But did you get that file, Jeremy? We can show them what one of these 3D files that's created with Twigital looks like, these USDZ files. And you can use them, throughout Web3. You can use them throughout the metaverse. You can use them for AR, all that kind of stuff. But okay, well, here we go. Let me see if I can bring it up. All right. There we go. All right. I'm working on it.
No problem.
All right, here we go. All right, can you guys see it?
Yeah.
Yes, we can.
All right, so this is what one of those 3D files looks like. And then, like, right now, you can see the details really good. Sometimes the back end of what we have, some items lend themselves really well to it, and some things don't. Apparently, Starburst do. So the detail on it is really good. It can be blown up, all that kind of stuff. And tomorrow, I'm going to be doing a tweet I'm going to put out because I want to get the attention of the Starburst guys because they're building their metaverse, the Juicyverse, on Hedera. But I want to try to get their attention a little bit. So I just want to throw a quick sneak peek out. We're going to do a tweet with how we used this 3D object in AR tomorrow. But yeah, just keep an eye out. But since we were here today and I just created this over the weekend, I figured we'd do a quick sneak peek.
Love it. Thanks, Brad. I love sneak peaks. Thanks for sharing.
Very
that.
cool. Very cool,
Awesome.
Brandon.
All right. So as we're getting to the top of the hour, Brandon, do you want to do some Market Mondays before we wrap this up?
Sure. Yeah, we could do that. So
how are we doing this week? How are we starting
think
off the week today?
The big news, we've had the banking issues, whether it's Credit Suisse, whether it's the Silicon Valley Bank, we have One Republic, all these banks are having some issues. And for a long time, almost the entire first quarter, crypto and Bitcoin has kind of been attached at the hip with other risk assets, and risk assets being stocks and things like that. Well, we've decoupled a bit. So Bitcoin has become a macro asset again, so kind of a safe haven, acting, kind of like gold, only better. So over the past week, Bitcoin is up 25%. It's off a little bit over the past 24 hours, so it's off about 1%. Now, altcoins like Hedera haven't enjoyed that kind of a boost, but they're getting a little bit of a tailwind from that. And one of the things that I've noticed in the past is if capital flows into Bitcoin, capital will, flow generally out of the altcoins as just traders in general that might be trading some of those altcoins like HBAR. They say, well, I want to catch some of these trades in Bitcoin while it's making its run. And then that capital often flows back. So over the past week, we're up about 2% over the past week, and we're down about 4% over the past 24 hours. But if Bitcoin can hold on to these gains, and again, it's 27,500, and it was over 28,000 at one point. If we can hold on to some of those gains, I think eventually that capital will flow back into the altcoins, and hopefully that'll coincide with some news that might come out in the Hedera ecosystem. But we always have a lot going on. But that's the general thing right now is, Bitcoin acting as a macro asset again. And that's kind of giving a little bit of a tailwind to the rest of the crypto complex.
And of course, none of this is
Can I
meant to
have
be
a
investment
question?
advice. Just real quick, of course, this is meant to be educational and for entertainment purposes, not investment advice. Of course, do your own research. And yeah, go ahead, Tim. What you got?
Yeah, it's something I saw today on Twitter, something trending about ISO 222 standard. And I was
Sure.
wondering how does Hedera being compliant, how significant can it be? Could it be something that would propel us into the limelight? And
Well, Tim, the first thing I would suggest is there was a tweet that was just put out by the HBAR Foundation, and it's we had a Twitter space a while back that had Carmel Cadet. She is the CEO of MTech. They're building CBDC solutions in the space, and she explains ISO 22022, and that's certainly the place to go. It's not necessarily that the coins themselves are compliant. It's can you write and build on top of a platform like Hedera to be compliant? So it's the applications that are built on top of it that are compliant or not. And most of these platforms, DLT platforms, can be compliant. I think there's a lot of confusion around it. So again, I would listen to that quick. I think it's a 2-minute clip that we put out from the HBAR Foundation explaining all of that. But just to kind of answer your question a little bit, the applications built on Hedera can be built to meet that standard.
Very cool. So before we get into my favorite part of the show, where we're going to give away some jam tokens, courtesy of Andrew Antar and the folks over at Tune.fm, I did want to give Jack and Patrick a minute to just kind of leave us with some parting thoughts about the projects and let us know, how we can follow the projects. What's the best way to get in touch with you if you have questions? So Jack, if you could tell us just a little bit about Kabila and what's on the roadmap for the future, and how do folks stay in contact and follow the project if they're interested and want to get involved?
Absolutely. So what can everybody expect from Kabila moving forward over the next few months, few years? Well,
200
our
years.
NFT toolkit, yeah, our NFT toolkit is coming to completion. We have sales report and analytics still to come, and obviously the team is constantly refining and polishing and improving all of the other tools. The next big focus for this year is a token gated social feature. There's going to be the third pillar. So you've got the wallet, the NFT toolkit, and the social feature / token gated content element. But if we're looking 5-10 years into the future, a bit like Hedera is progressively becoming more decentralized. That's also the aim for Kabila, to become more of a public service run by a DAO. But obviously this is we're looking years into the future and very progressively taking those small steps, which is something we admire a lot, and get inspired by with Hedera, how they've started. This is how I see it personally, is that they've started from what they know, and they're one step at a time going towards more and more of a decentralized ecosystem, rather than the other way around, which is what you tend to see on other chains. So that's also our goal with Kabila. And yeah, when can everyone find us? Twitter, DM's always open. We've got our Discord server, of course. We've got a creator support channel within the Discord server, and Kabila Academy, which is one of our big focuses this year as well. To start, we have our weekly spaces on Twitter. We're going to be starting some masterclasses around NFTs and whatnot, and tutorials for the platform. So that's also a big focus, especially for me with content and marketing, and Manu, because we also have our two communities, the Spanish speaking and the English speaking. Sure. So we have to kind of duplicate everything as much as we can. So yeah,
that has a lot of challenges in and of itself.
Yeah. I mean, it started more Spanish, right? Because that's where their roots are, and we're slowly connecting with the English speaking. Well, we have been for a while, but even more so.
Right. And we certainly appreciate it. Thank you. All right.
Likewise.
And of course, those links will be in the description below. So if folks want to follow Kabila Labs and the Academy that's coming up, there will be links in the description below the video. Patrick, how about yourself? So I love the ethos of Earthlings, by the way, and when I was reading the white paper, you finished off with a really nice thought about folks, just kind of getting out in the world and meeting each other in real life, as we love games. But I just thought that was really insightful and pretty inspiring as coming from a game developer, just kind of taking that altruistic approach and encouraging people to turn off the screen and get outside and enjoy the sunshine. All those kinds of things. So that was a really nice parting thought from the white paper. But what parting thoughts have you got for us today as we close out the Alternative Money Monday live stream? And then, of course, if folks don't know, how can they follow Earthlings and stay in contact and follow the great world and project that you're building?
That's a dangerous route that you're taking, because now I can't take it short anymore when you first quote me on that. So I'm going to go back at that, because someone said in a Twitter space, and then I'll try to answer the other question. That the metaverse, it's connecting everyone, and people who are lonely aren't lonely anymore. And that's why I put that in there, because I do see it a bit differently, because I think the whole digital world, you can't ban gaming, everyone's gaming. But let's be honest, we need to kick our kids outside sometimes and get them off the screen and get them in the garden. And I've got a lot of green here, probably blinding, it's like a halo. So I do think we should not stay from morning to evening. And it does, to me, it does make people more isolated and less social. So I do think we still need to pay attention to real life. So that's why we also have some stuff thought out of just messages, giving them a message that, come on, get out there, go meet people in real life. But yeah, where are we going and what's new? The thing is, I've got an advantage over a lot of other projects, because if you ask, if my mother will ask, what is Kabila? And he needs to explain for 2 hours to my mother. If I have to explain someone who's new to the space, what are you doing? I'm building a game. Everyone understands that. But it's also easier to explain where are you going? Well, I need to finish my game. It's a long roadmap, of course, but that's what I'm doing. So I can only share you what we're doing now. We just brought out, we need to airdrop them. Milan knows the date by head. He's more in sync with marketing. We're going to airdrop any day now the broom, the pedal, and the rake. And it's actually just a fun airdrop, but you can also use them in the game. And Quentin is now actually programming Pepper to use the broom to beat up a bear. But it's family friendly, so it's more in a funny way that we're doing it. There's not going to be a machine gun gutting the bear or with knives. So what we're doing now, we're focusing on animals, creating the first animal NFTs, and they look awesome. Our upgraded wolf is amazing.
What about wallabies? I suggest a wallaby.
We're not in Australia yet, but that would be a nice link for a partnership or something, like a bull and a wallaby. We'll have that talk. So the animals, floating islands are amazing. We upgraded them a bit, a lot actually. The towns had a little delay. I was very transparent about that. We hired a studio because they helped us a lot with the city textures, and that went great. But we still did have to twist and tweak a lot after that with our own team, because I've got an amazing team. But that meant that we had to redo the whole towns when they gave us, in my, I learned an abbreviation, IMAO opinion, figured it out, that wasn't up to standards. So yeah, those were those difficult moments that we said, throw it in the dustbin, say goodbye and start over. And I've just seen the sneak peeks this weekend, and they're looking amazing. Not there yet, so I'm not going to show it, but that caused a little delay on some other things. But when I get them out, they will look amazing, and that it's almost there. So, and then we will continue with the city and other stuff. You just have to mute me, because I'll go on.
No, that's okay. That's okay. But Milan, it looks like Milan did have a date there for it on the airdrop. What was that date, Milan?
Yeah, 23rd of March at 6 p.m. UTC. That's when the snapshot is taken. So if you hold a village or town, that's the moment that your account will be taken, your account ID will be taken on the list, and your broom gets or broom rake or pedal will get dropped in your account. So make sure you get it associated before that time.
Very cool. And it looks like we had from Jack, we had a vote for camel as an animal within Earthlings as well. So a vote for a camel, a vote for a wallaby. Brandon, what you got? There's all you got.
I have to run. I have to run.
Oh, you got to run. All right, great. Well, thanks for being here as always, Brandon, the HBAR Bull. Appreciate it. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and jump into the end here. We're gonna give away some jam tokens, my favorite part of the show. So courtesy of Tune.fm, Andrew Antar and the awesome team over there, giving us these promotional jam tokens. So to our Twitter family winner, we're gonna have @biscuit_crypto. So Biscuit Crypto is our 10,000 jam token winner for the week. Gosh, Patrick, Jack, Milan, all you guys, I can't thank you enough for joining us. This has been a great show, a lot of fun, and I really look forward to having you guys back for another one. Yeah, when I wake up Monday morning, sometimes it's like, oh man, these are, it's kind of like going on stage doing these live streams. It's a little stressful, because it's live and all that kind of stuff. But then once I get through them, and I mean, we have fun every week, and I'm so glad that I do these. And it's just great to see you guys. I mean, such talented teams. It's incredible to see what's happening in the Web3 space. Can't thank you enough for being here. Of course, I'm JR, the co-founder and CEO of Ledgerama, makers of Walla Wallet, the original, the safest, and the trusted mobile wallet of the Hedera ecosystem. It's been a pleasure, and if you like the content, if you like what you saw, don't forget to give us a thumbs up. If you didn't like what you saw and you were bored, well, give us a thumbs down. But you got to leave a comment below and let us know what you want to see and what you didn't like about the show, what you do like, what you don't like. Just let us know. Leave us those comments. They're really important. So again, everybody, thanks for joining us. We will see you next Monday with another live streaming Alternative Money Monday. Until then, adios.